going to be starting off with the creepy history of the Candyman. So they say that many years ago, the Candyman was a real man back in the days of slavery. He was a slave named Daniel Robitaille who worked on a plantation in New Orleans. He was a talented painter and was chosen by the plantation owner to paint a portrait of his daughter. But while they were spending time together as Daniel painted her, they actually fell in love with each other. They really wanted to be together forever, but unfortunately, the plantation owner found out that Daniel and his daughter were together. And because Daniel was a slave, he was not thrilled about it at all. So he got an angry mob together of all his friends and chased Daniel out of the town. Now, this mob of people were armed with pitchforks and a pack of dogs. They chased poor Daniel across fields and streams, and finally they caught up with him in an old abandoned barn. And in the chaos of them attacking Daniel, he actually lost his arm, and then they covered him in honey and threw him into a beehive. He was in terrible pain, and right before he died, he cursed the men who did this to him and vowed to come back in the afterlife to get his revenge. They say his spirit would never rest, and now his ghost walks the world for all eternity, appearing when his name is called 5 times. So the origin story of the Candyman is actually so sad, and I had never heard about it until now. I always thought the Candyman was this creepy guy who gave out candy and you stood in the mirror and called his name 5 times. I did not know that he was actually in slavery and had a heartbreaking story. Now, that is an urban legend. I don't know how true that part is, but still, all Daniel did was love the plantation owner's daughter. Is that so bad? So let's talk about the paranormal game that came from this. A lot of us have played this before at sleepovers. It's been a very popular creepy game over the last 50 years maybe? The game goes that if you look at a mirror in your bathroom with the lights turned off and repeat Candyman 5 times, you see a pair of glowing red eyes appear in your mirror. They say that as soon as you see these red eyes, you must turn the lights back on in the bathroom and run to the brightest spot in your house or he will come after you. Now, some people have said they've actually seen him appear to them in full body. They've seen him covered in honey with bee stings all over him. Other people have seen him with a giant hook as a hand. And they say that if you really want to summon him, you could even put a piece of candy on the bathroom counter to have a better chance of luring him in. I've also heard a different version of the game where you go into a dark closet facing in and call his name 3 times. A lollipop will appear and you will know he's in the house. Let's move on to the Candy Lady. Her story is just as creepy but totally different. Now, this urban legend actually originates from a small town in Texas. So if you're from there, you may know this story very well. It is said that the Candy Lady lures children to their doom by leaving enticing goodies on their windowsill just before bedtime. Her plan is for the kids to wait until their mom and dad are fast asleep in bed, and then they eat the candy that they find on their windowsill. They fall asleep, and then the candy woman creeps up and takes them and gobbles them down. This story actually kind of reminds me of Hansel and Gretel because she gets them to eat all the candy and then she actually eats them. So this story actually sounds really similar to that. Now, this urban legend says that the children in this small town of Texas actually started to go missing because of this, although police and authorities didn't know the real reason why. Parents thought maybe they were kidnapped or maybe they just ran away, but it turned out that some of the kids who ate the candy never were taken, and when they got older they told this to their parents and said, wait, back when I was a kid I saw candy on my windowsill and when I ate it I felt sick. And what's so creepy is that the sheriff who was investigating these missing children's cases actually turned up dead just from investigating that, and his eyes were missing and his pockets were stuffed with candy. So it's super creepy. There was also this other story about this farmer who was just tending his fields and found a bunch of candy wrappers in the middle of the cornfields that were filled with children's teeth. So all these clues revolved around candy and led back to the candy lady. So people have always wondered, is this just an urban legend? Is this just a scary story that parents tell their kids to make them not take candy from strangers? Maybe it's a ghost story to cover up really horrible crimes that did happen? Or maybe the candy lady is real and is looking for her next victim right now. Now, this was actually such a highly requested video topic from you guys. You really wanted me to talk about creepy elevators and specifically the elevator game. So before we jump right into the spookiness part, let's talk about some brief elevator history. And I'm talking brief because we don't really care about full, intense elevator history. So since the dawn of time, humans have always been looking for more efficient ways to do things, such as transporting humans in faster and more convenient ways. The very first elevators were called hoists, and they were used as early as the 3rd century BC. So they were basically these contraptions that were on ropes and pulleys, and they were usually powered by animals, water, or humans. And the first electric elevator was built by a German inventor in 1880, and it had automatic doors and everything. Now, I don't know why, but for some reason, I did not think that the electric elevator was built in the 1800s. Like, I always thought it was sort of a more recent thing, like maybe mid-1900s, but clearly I don't know much about history. So yeah, elevators have been a thing for a very long time. So let's talk about the superstition that most people know about, the 13th floor. Next time you're in a hotel, try and find the 13th floor in an elevator. More often than not, it won't be there. This is because 13 is a very superstitious number, and a lot of people are afraid of it. Now, this is actually a real phobia. I'm gonna try and pronounce this. It's called triskaidekaphobia, which is an extreme fear of the number 13. And think about it, this number is associated with so many bad things. Like Friday the 13th is considered to be very unlucky, and a lot of terrible events that have happened in the world have happened on the 13th day of the month. And I can make a whole different video about that topic entirely. So by removing the 13th floor, many hotel owners are simply making sure they don't alienate any superstitious clients. Because if your hotel has a 13th floor, most people will literally request to change rooms. Like, tons of people will refuse to stay on the 13th floor. So that's why when you're in an elevator, it goes from floor 12 to 14, and some people don't even notice that jump. But now I know you will, since you just watched this video. And the funny thing is, there still is technically a 13th floor in a hotel. You can't just like magically skip a floor. You can call it floor 14, but we all know it's actually floor 13. But yeah, they kind of just disguise it so that they don't freak people out. So before we get into the paranormal game, let's talk about a creepypasta called the Red Cloak. This is more of an urban legend that has to do with the 13th floor. So just because most hotels don't have a 13th floor doesn't mean that they all don't. Actually, if you go and visit a very old hotel, chances are they will still have a 13th floor. I'm talking hotels that are like 100 years old or more. There's a legend that if you are staying in a hotel room on the 13th floor and choose to go into the elevator, sometimes a woman in a red cloak will walk in the elevator with you and will stay quiet the entire way up. Now, you won't be able to see her face because her red cloak will be covering her eyes, and she won't respond if you try and talk to her. And when the doors open on the 13th floor, she will walk off and disappear down the hallway. Now, it's actually creepy the amount of people who have said they've seen this red-cloaked woman. I read this one story about this person who lives in an apartment building on the 13th floor, and they actually see her quite frequently. So they say that if you have to stay on the 13th floor for some reason at a hotel, to always take the stairs up to your room. Now, I've never seen anything bad happening to people who have seen this woman, but just be careful. And lastly, the moment you've all been waiting for, the elevator elevator game. This is a game called Elevator to Another World, and it has been going around the internet for quite a few years now. The title of the game pretty much explains it, but if you decide to play this game, it will basically take you to another dimension. You're supposed to play this game alone, and you have to be in a building with at least 10 floors. And I've also heard this game is better played if it's at 3 a.m., but I don't really think it matters that much, as long as you play it after dark. So here's how the game works. After dark, step into an elevator in a building that has at least 10 floors, and make sure no one else is in the elevator with you. If someone walks in, the game won't work. Now, the instructions I'm about to tell you are a little bit confusing, and it basically has to do with you going up and down to different floors over and over again. It's basically how the ritual begins. So here's how it goes. Bear with me. It's a little bit confusing. Once you're in the elevator alone, press the button for the 4th floor. And when it takes you there, do not step out of the elevator. Remain inside and press the button for the 2nd floor. When you reach the 2nd floor, press the button for the 6th floor. When you reach the 6th floor, press the button again for the 2nd floor. When you reach the 2nd floor, press the button for the 10th floor. And when you reach the 10th floor, press the button for the 5th floor. And this is where it finally gets interesting. So after you've gone up and down and all about, you're gonna be on the 5th floor. A young woman may enter the elevator. Do not look at her. Do not speak to her. She is not what she seems. Most people say she will ask you, "Where are you going?" But you are not supposed to answer, and you're not supposed to look at her. Then you must press the button for the 1st floor. And one of 2 things might happen when you do this. It might actually take you down to the 1st floor, which is good. In that case, it means you're all done. You can exit the elevator without looking back. But it might take you to the 10th floor, and it's your choice if you want to exit or not. If you decide to stay on this 10th floor and exit the elevator, you have entered the other world. It's going to look identical to the real world, which makes it fool you. The only thing that's different is that all the lights will be off. Remember which elevator you go off of, because you have to use that exact one to get back to the real world. Now, a lot of people who have actually been to this other world say that electronic devices don't work there. So your phone won't work, your MP3 won't work, your iPad won't work, nothing's gonna work that you have on you. And once you're done walking around in this other world, people say it's actually kind of difficult to get back to the normal world. You may become disoriented and forget which elevator in which you arrived. And some people have even said that the elevator may seem to get further and further away from you as you walk towards it. It also says if at any point during this ritual you faint or pass out or black out, you will wake up in your own home in your bed. But if you don't pass out and you can actually walk back to the first elevator that you came from, to get back to the real world, you must press the buttons in the same order you did in steps 2 through 8, so you should finish at the 1st floor. Before you exit the elevator, you have to check your surroundings very carefully to make sure you're walking back into the real world, because sometimes this other world will try and fool you. If anything seems off, even the smallest detail, do not exit the elevator. So if anything looks wrong, you have to repeat all of those steps over again until it looks like the real world again. And once you are confident you have returned to your own world, you may safely exit the elevator. Now, this game is so confusing, so if you're watching this right now and you're like, what did you just even explain to me, Jessii? I completely understand. There is just so many rules, so much instructions. It is so confusing. So Sweet Tooth is a scary game that people often play at sleepovers. It actually originated in Russia, where it's very popular with kids and teenagers. Now, this ritual basically involves summoning a gnome that will come and eat your chocolate, which definitely sounds extremely weird and may not sound scary to you at first, but I can assure you it's not your typical cute storybook gnome. It's actually something much, much darker. So let's get into how to play this game. So you need at least 2 people to play this game, but the more the better. The game must be played in complete darkness. It should only be done at night or after midnight or before dawn. And during this ritual, you have to stay extremely quiet. You shouldn't be talking louder than a whisper. And to play this game, you need the following items. We have a bar of chocolate, a mirror, a thread or a thin string, and a pair of scissors. So let's get right into the steps. Step 1, take the mirror and place it on the floor. Now you're supposed supposed to put it directly under the light on your ceiling, and the mirror should be facing up on the floor. Step 2, tie a long thread around the bar of chocolate and suspend it from the light on your ceiling. It should literally be hanging just above the mirror, but it should not be touching the mirror. Step 3, everyone sits in a circle around the mirror, and every single person in the room has to play the game. Someone can't like sit on the sidelines and watch. If they're in the room, they have to play. If they don't want to play, they have to leave the room. Step 4, one person holds the pair of scissors and prepares to cut the thread. But you can't cut the thread until the lights are out. So another person has to get up to turn the lights off in the room. Once the light is off, the thread can be cut. So you'll hear the chocolate bar fall on top of the mirror, and then everyone has to start chanting this. Sweet tooth, please come. Sweet tooth, please come. Sweet tooth, please come. So you have to say it for a total of 3 times. For step 7, everyone has to remain in the circle and wait. Soon, everybody will start hearing this rustling sound. And apparently that sound is the gnome unwrapping the chocolate to eat it. Everyone has to wait until the rustling sound stops, and once it does, then everybody has to slowly count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then one person in the group has to get up and turn the light back on. Now, there are several things that might happen while playing this game. 1, the gnome may eat the chocolate as planned, which is good. That means the game has been completed and you've been successful. Number 2, the gnome might just leave bite marks on your chocolate. He may not actually eat the whole thing, which is still fine. Number 3, the gnome might leave presents of more chocolate for you guys. So those are the 3 pretty good things that might happen, which means the game has been successful. Now, there is a warning that comes with this game, which is what makes it so creepy, because honestly, this game is pretty low risk as long as you follow the rules correctly. It says that if everything is done right, things should go pretty smoothly. But if things aren't done correctly, it says the gnome could bite you or escape from the mirror into our real world forever. Because basically, this gnome that you're summoning is supposed to come out of the mirror to get the chocolate. But sometimes it might not go back into the mirror. And if the gnome escapes, they say it will hide in your house forever and bite your toes while you sleep at night. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want a gnome biting my toes at night while I'm sleeping. So I actually found an experience from people who actually had this game go completely wrong. And it's literally called Sleepover Gone Wrong. There was a story about a group of friends who played this at a sleepover one year for a 13th birthday party. Now, they weren't taking this game very seriously at all. They kept laughing, they kept doing the rules all wrong, they kept like eating the chocolate that was in the middle of the circle. And it's just because none of them believed that anything bad would actually happen from playing this game, and they didn't even believe in this game to start with. They were just sort of doing it for fun. Never do rituals for fun. Well, that night when they had all gone to bed, one of the girls woke up to hear rustling coming from the pantry in the kitchen. It almost sounded like an animal had gotten into the house, so she slowly walked towards the sound, holding a broom in her hand for protection. And when she turned the corner to look into the pantry, she saw this small man crouched in the corner, basically down in the shadows underneath the food shelves. It was too dark to see him in detail, but his eyes were glowing yellow and were looking directly at her. And after a few moments of them staring at each other, this creature started to laugh. And it was the creepiest laugh that this girl had ever heard in her life. It was like this deep growl mixed with hissing. So the girl ran back to her group of friends to tell them what happened, and by the time they woke up their parents and all went back to the pantry, this creature was nowhere to be seen. And from that day forward, whenever these girls had a sleepover, after they were all sleeping, the creature would come out of the darkness and would tear up their sleeping bags to chew on their toes. Could you imagine sleeping at a sleepover and the bottom of your sleeping bag starts being torn open and like you're being eaten from your toes? Red Door Yellow Door is a scary paranormal game to play at sleepovers. Now, this ritual slash game also has a couple other names. People also call it Black Door, White Door, or Doors of the Mind. Basically, you're having a sleepover with your friends and you'll choose one of your friends to be your guide while playing this game. So obviously to play this game, you will need at least 2 people. So the person you choose to be your guide will basically put you into a trance and will lead you through the doors of your mind. I know it sounds crazy. So let's go into how you set up for this game. Basically, your guide will sit on the floor with their legs crossed. They'll have a pillow on their lap, and you'll lie in front of them on the ground with your head on the pillow that's on their lap. Does that make sense? So you're like lying in front of them. You're gonna close your eyes and you're gonna hold your hands up in the air like you just don't care. Now, your guide is gonna start massaging your temples with their fingers while they say, red door, yellow door, any other color door. Red door, yellow door, any other color door. And they're gonna keep saying this over and over again. Then you're gonna start feeling yourself slipping into a trance. So you have to almost let yourself start falling asleep as you're listening to your guide say this. Once you slip into your trance, you will start to see rooms or doors in front of you. Once you see these doors, you're gonna lower down your arms, and this way your guide knows that you're finally in your trance. And the game will begin. The guide asks you questions, getting you to describe your surroundings and prompting you to open doors. I feel like I haven't sneezed in a video in so long. Oh my goodness. So here is some of the questions that your guide might ask you while you're around all of these crazy doors. They might say, are you in a room? Describe this room. What color are the doors? How do you feel about the purple door? Open the purple door and go through. So you have to have like proper communication with your guide. Now, this is where the game gets very creepy because there's tons of rules and advice about what you should do while you're in the doors of your mind. So basically, while you're in your trance, you might see a long hallway with doors all down the side. You might be in a house with a bunch of colorful doors. You might be in the middle of a field with just like one door in front of you. It all depends on how your mind portrays this other world with doors. Now, one of the rules say that if you ever come across another person in this world, you should never interact with them because they might turn out to be evil or they might try and trick you. There was this one experience someone had where they were being followed by someone they knew in real life. So when they saw them, they just waved at them because they recognized them, and this other person waved back. But instantly they had this horrible feeling that the person they were waving at wasn't really who they knew. It was almost like something was trying to disguise themselves as someone they knew. So if you see anyone while playing this game, just avoid them. Don't talk to them, don't look at them, pretend you don't think they're there. If you find yourself in a room full of clocks, you have to leave immediately because clocks can trap you. So people say that if you walk into a room that only has like one clock on the wall, you're totally fine. But if more and more start appearing, or if you literally walk into a room with floor to ceiling clocks everywhere, you need to get out of that room immediately and do not go back in. One person said this happened to them while playing this game, and it was almost like the clock started to hypnotize them, and they ended up staring at the wall for hours and hours. And their friends were even unable to wake them up, which is terrifying. Another rule says that you can go anywhere you want, but it's better to go up than down. So basically, if you ever see a staircase while you're in this other trance world, it's better to choose a staircase that's going up than a staircase that's going down. A lot of people who have played this game have gone down staircases, and they say they get this very, very eerie feeling because sometimes the staircases don't stop, and it's like you're going down endless staircases forever and ever, and eventually you get like lost in your mind. I read this other experience about someone who went down over 80 staircases going down, and once they got to the very bottom, they encountered this very creepy figure that had the face of their mother, but it had two heads and it was crawling on all fours, like going after them. So they had to go back all the way up through these 80 staircases while this creepy creature was chasing them that had the face of their mother. That is terrifying. I would never want to go through that or experience that. So yeah, if you ever encounter stairs, just go up. Just go up. The next rule of advice says that light things and light colors tend to be better than dark things and dark colors. So many people have said that they have better experiences going through lightly colored doors, but it's different for everybody. So maybe if you see a dark purple door, there might be something bad in there, but if you go through like a light green door, there's something nice in there. But that's not always the case. One person went through a light pink door only to find themselves endlessly falling into a black abyss. So yeah, I guess light isn't always good. It really depends. The next rule says that if you become trapped in a room, you have to try and wake up or you will be trapped in a trance forever, which is everybody's worst fear. So trapped in a room basically means there's no windows around, there's no trap doors in the floor for you to escape, there's literally no way for you to get out. It's like you just walk into like a plain room and walls. Like maybe the door got blocked by something or it disappeared the second you entered the room. It says that in this case you will need to communicate with your guide to help you with waking up, because sometimes it's very hard to do on your own, so your guide will have to like shake you awake. And it says sometimes it's easy, but other times it's harder than you think. Ugh. Next it says, they say that if you die in the game, you also die in real life. No thank you. Now, I was reading online that most people have been saying that this rule is just there for entertainment factor, just to make you more scared while playing the game. But I wasn't able to find any sources online that have said that people have died while playing this game. I literally just kicked my camera, I'm that into this video. So obviously if people died while playing this game, I would not be making a video about it because I would never want to encourage anybody to do something that like would be harmful. It's just a game where you explore your mind, and the worst thing that could happen is something in the game scares you so much that it's hard for you to forget about it when you wake up. Or maybe you just get trapped in your mind forever, but that probably won't happen. The next creepy thing it says is that if you encounter a man in a suit who makes you feel uneasy, you should end the game immediately. Now, a lot of people have encountered this creepy man in the suit while playing this game. Some people describe him as wearing a widely brimmed hat. Some people say he's wearing a dark purple suit, and he basically just watches people as they walk through the rooms and the hallways, not really saying anything, just making them feel very uneasy. Other people have said they get into a trance just by looking at him. Other people have said they've seen a woman in a Victorian dress that essentially does the exact same thing. So kind of like what I said before, if you see anybody, just avoid them. Don't look at them, don't pay attention to them, just walk away. And lastly, it says, in an emergency, if you are unable to wake up, it may be necessary for the guide to shake you roughly until you awaken. So like I said before, sometimes you need help waking up from this game, so you have to be like shaken really hard and uncontrollably. And I guess that's why you always play this game with people around you in case like a crazy emergency happens and you have to wake up. The Answer Man is an urban legend that started circulating in Japan over 10 years ago. People actually think it came from the early 2000s. It is also known as the Phantom of the Answer and the Answer Phantom. In this game, you're basically calling a mysterious creature that will answer any questions that you'd like. Now, you need to make sure that you really want to know the answer to this question, because once he tells you, you will never unhear it. Some people ask him questions about the world or what's gonna happen to them in the future, and obviously once you know those things, you might live your life in fear. But it does say, however, knowledge doesn't come free, so be prepared for a trade-off. And the game says, as always, play at your own risk. So here are the requirements to play this game. You need 10 people and 10 cell phones. And the game actually says it's better to play with burner phones, and you'll find out in a minute as to why. So here is how to play this very creepy game. First, you can play this game anywhere at any time. It doesn't have to be at night, it could be during the day, it could be in your house, it could be outside, it could literally be anywhere that you want. You have to gather all 10 people in a circle. And on the count of 3, each person has to take their phone and call the person to their left. So everybody is calling at the exact same time. Now, if all 10 people instantly get a busy tone on their phone, that means the game was unsuccessful and it's over. But if 9 participants get the busy signal, but 1 person's call goes through and actually starts to ring, that means the game has begun and you're able to proceed. This 1 participant will hear a voice begin to speak on the other end. So basically the goal is, out of all 10 people, 1 person is supposed to be able to speak to the Answer Man. And when you start to play this game, you have no idea who in the group that will be, which is kind of suspenseful and would give me so much anxiety, I think. So here is how the conversation with the Answer Man is going to go. The person whose call goes through is able to ask the Answer Man a question, and this person needs to listen very carefully to the answer. Now, after the Answer Man has given them that answer, he will now ask the participant a question. Now, you have to answer the question that he asks you. You can't say no, and you have to be honest and truthful. You cannot lie because he will know. And then you can repeat this process as many times as you like. You ask him a question, he asks you a question, and everything between you two has to be 100% honest. Now, here's how to end the call. And this part is honestly really creepy. When the person has received all the information they require, they may end the call by telling the Answer Man that they must go. Now, the Answer Man is going to try to attempt to keep you on the line as long as possible. He might do this by possibly offering information for free, but do not stay on the line. You need to repeatedly tell him that you want to end the conversation. If you are persistent enough, the answer man will eventually end the call and hang up on you. At this point, the call has been terminated and the game is over. After the call has been terminated, you must immediately destroy all the cell phones used to conduct this game. And this is why they suggest you use a burner phone, because obviously that's just a temporary phone that you don't actually care about. You probably don't want to get rid of your real cell phone that has all of your information and contacts on it, but whatever phones you use, you have to burn immediately. Get rid of them, destroy them. So here are some warnings about this game that you need to know about before you play. It is not recommended that if you're talking to the answer man for you to pass the phone around to your friends. You should not allow multiple people to ask him questions. It should only be the one person. There's a reason the answer man picked up that particular call. He does not want to talk to just anybody. It is also not recommended that you put the answer man on speakerphone. No one else should hear him but the person whose call was answered. Do not fail to destroy all cell phones used to conduct this game after the game is completed. Even if you were among the 9 who were unable to connect in the first place, you never know what might try to call you back. So if you just finish the game and don't destroy your phone and take it home with you, apparently the answer man will try to call you over and over again. And he won't leave you alone until that phone is destroyed. Like I said before, it also says you cannot fail to answer the answer man's questions. According to the legend, the answer man is the ghost of a child who was born severely deformed. When he was born, he had no arms, legs, or torso. He was just a head. And ever since his death, his ghost has constantly been trying to become a full human by collecting the body parts of others. So don't lie, do not answer falsely, do not answer incorrectly. If you fail to answer any question the answer man asks you, you might start to feel this strange tingling sensation on one part of your body. It might be your finger, your toe, your arm, your ear. And this is how you will know that you have failed and there is a price for your failure. And then later on in your life, maybe days or months or even years, you will lose that part of your body. They say it may be by accident, by an illness, by some other means, and that's how he will collect his fee. And the final warning is to never hang up on the answer man. He doesn't like that. Okay, so this very first game is called the Fed Up game. This game apparently originated in 2008 in Japan, and it literally involves writing the words "fed up" on a blank piece of paper and then falling asleep with the piece of paper tucked underneath your pillow. Other versions of the game say that you need to write "I'm tired" on the piece of paper, but either one will work. When you awake, you'll find yourself somewhere new. You'll know you're in this other world because when you look under your pillow, the paper will be gone. Now there is a warning that says this should only be attempted if you have no intention of returning back to your own world, because there's no way of getting back once you've left, which is terrifying. There was this one story where this girl had a 12-year-old sister who wanted to try to play this game because she wanted to go to a mystical realm where she could hang out with unicorns all day. Kind of sounds like me. The next day when her parents went to wake her up for school, she was gone. Now obviously this is just a creepypasta, but still. Then we have a game called Purple Hearts, which as you can tell is the title of today's video. This game is bizarre. Now Purple Hearts is actually a very old game. It dates back to the 80s and 90s, I believe. This game is basically where you explore other worlds while you're dreaming. So one person in this game has to be the sleeper and the other person has to be the watcher. So there's 2 people. One person gets into their bed and tries to fall asleep, and the other person sits beside them and watches over them. The person who's watching has to say, "Purple hearts, purple hearts, purple hearts," over and over again until that sleeper drops into a dream. Then they lead the sleeper through their dream, encouraging them to describe where they are, what they see, and anything that might be going on around them. Now, when the sleeper starts to describe seeing purple hearts in their dream, it's time to wake them up and bring them back to the real world. Now, in order to wake up the sleeper, you have to tell them to reach out and grab one of the purple hearts that they're seeing. Once the sleeper has grabbed the purple heart in their dream, dream, they should awake in the physical world. Now, the rumor is if you're not woken up right away after you see these hearts in your dream, then for the rest of your life, you'll always see those shapes in your vision. Imagine always seeing purple hearts wherever you go. Like, that sounds super distracting, but also kind of cool. Like, you know how sometimes when you look outside, you see those like floaters in your vision? Imagine those being giant purple hearts. Weird. Next, we have something called the thumb game. This is probably one of the strangest games that I read about. You have to gather together a group of friends and you all have to stand in a circle. And you have to grab onto each other's thumbs. So you're not holding hands, you're holding thumbs, if that makes sense. As you're doing that, you have to imagine a particular environment. It could be a magical place, a mythical place, a waterfall, another planet. You have to all decide on what you're gonna imagine. You'll soon find yourself in the environment that you've imagined. Except when you look down at your thumb, you'll realize that it's missing. And now you have to go on a quest to find your thumb in this other world that you created. You have to do this as soon as possible and return to your original location before time is up. Because if you don't, you may not return to the real world and you'll be stuck there forever. Isn't that such a strange concept? And how do you know how much time you have? Like, how do you know when time's up? All right, and lastly, we have a game called 11 Miles. Now, the rules of this game might seem very simple, but apparently it's the complete opposite of that. You need to get into your car and drive until you locate a specific road. Now, apparently you'll just know it's the right road when you get there. You'll just have this feeling, and for most people, it's a road that runs through a forest. Then continue to drive down that road until you reach the end. And if you do it successfully, you'll be granted a wish. But like I said, the actual drive won't be easy. There are these rules for what you can and can't do as you drive through those 11 miles. And I'll read them out to you right now, and they get weirder and weirder. So on mile 1, it says, if you get cold, you may turn your heater on. Mile 2, if you haven't already turned the heater on, now would be a good time to do so. If you do not, you might regret it later. Mile 3, ignore any shadows in the trees, no matter how human they may seem. Mile 4, ignore any voices you may hear, no matter how human they may seem. Mile 5, ignore the vanishing trees, the sudden appearance of a lake, and the glowing of the moon. Mile 6, ignore the returning of the trees, the disappearance of the stars, and the flickering of your headlights. If your radio turns on, ignore that too. Ignore it no matter what it says, but do not attempt to turn it off. Mile 7, ignore again any voices you may hear, no matter how close they may sound. Do not turn around, even if the voices appear to be coming from the back seat. Mile 8, slow down, but do not stop. Brake if your headlights flicker, but do not stop. No matter how cold it gets, do not stop. No matter who or what you might see, do not stop. Mile 9, your vehicle may stall. Close your eyes, attempt to restart your vehicle. Do not open your eyes, no matter what you hear, do not open your eyes. When your vehicle starts, hit the gas as fast as you can. When the mile is over, you may open your eyes. Mile 10, do not look in your rearview mirror. Mile 11, your vehicle may lose power, but continue to move. Let it. Okay, so after this, you're done your 11 miles. So let's talk about this reward, they say. Drive until the road dead ends, and then you can relax. Imagine your deepest desire. It says that if your desire was an object, check your trunk. If it is smaller than that, check your back seat. If it is smaller than that, check your pockets. But if your desire was non-material, return to your life and check there. If it does not appear immediately, wait. Be patient. It will come. Now, when I first saw the title of this game, I immediately thought that maybe it was somehow associated with the classic children's book. That book came out in 1952, and then the movies followed that. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. The novel tells the story of a livestock pig named Wilbur and his friendship with the barn spider named Charlotte. When Wilbur is in danger of being slaughtered by the farmer, Charlotte writes messages praising Wilbur in her web in order to persuade the farmer to let him live. I used to love this story as a kid. Like, it was one of my favorite movies to watch as well. So in a way, I was kind of hoping this would be associated with the game, but it's not. It's totally different. So let's talk about the actual backstory of this creepy game. Charlotte Webster was a 7-year-old girl who lived in the 1400s. Her mother was accused of being a witch and was burned at the stake. The young girl watched her mother die in agony and escaped into the woods. Now, she couldn't wouldn't have known what to do. She was so young and had no means of surviving. The legend says that she died in those woods and was picked apart by the animals that came across her body. So yeah, obviously the game stems from something much darker than just a pig and a spider. And because this little girl's name was Charlotte Webster, that's why it's called Charlotte's Web. Get it? So here is what the game says that you will need. Multiple flashlights, a second person, one mirror, a toy, 2 chairs, and a table. Step 1, you have to go into a room without windows. And if you must, you can black out any windows that you have. Not all of us have rooms in the house with absolutely no windows. Basically only our closets are the place with no windows. So if you do have windows, make sure you throw like blankets or something over them. Set up chairs in the middle of the room with about 2 feet of space between them. Then put a mirror in front of the chairs facing them. Then set a table behind those chairs and make sure you can see the table when both of you are sitting down. So basically, as you're sitting in the chairs with the mirror in front of you, you should see the reflection of the table in the mirror, if that makes sense. Put the toy on the table in the space between the chairs. And then turn on your flashlights. These are just so that you can see. You have to turn off all the lights in the room. It should be pitch black aside from your flashlights, and you have to sit beside that person that you chose. Then you have to say, "We want to play Charlotte's Web," at the same time. Watch as Charlotte comes to take the toy, and if she is happy with the toy, then you could talk to her and ask questions. Now, the only way that you should be watching her take this toy is through the reflection of the mirror. The whole entire game, you have to be looking only through the mirror. And then when you're finished talking to her, you have to say, "Goodbye, Charlotte," at the exact same time. Best case scenario, she keeps the toy and wanders out of view of the mirror. If this happens, it's safe to end the game, turn on the lights, and go about your day. But this game does come with quite a few warnings, just like most creepy games do. Now, apparently Charlotte is a very gentle person, but it says only if she is pleased with the toy that you left her. It says she is a little kid, and just like any other little kid human, she will throw a tantrum if she is not pleased with it. Now, apparently this is really bad, so if she starts freaking out and screaming and crying, you have to end the game as soon as you can. And like I said, you have to say, "Goodbye, Charlotte," at the exact same time, and everything will be over. It says, do not continue if she is throwing a tantrum, because if you do, you are endangering your lives. It also says in capital letters, by the way, do not under any circumstances turn around. Like I said, you have to view everything in the reflection of the mirror. You can only stare in the mirror for the entire game. No looking to the side of the mirror, behind you, or even at the person who is playing with you. And it says, if you look anywhere except the mirror, you're endangering your life, but not the person who's playing with you. So if the person you're sitting beside is following all the rules, they're gonna be fine. So it's not like it will happen to both of you. It'll only happen to the person who stops obeying the rules, which I guess is kind of good, because then you don't have to like depend on the person that you're with if they mess up. She may be a little girl, but remember that she is a ghost, and ghosts are capable of remarkable things. Now, I have read some comments of people who have played this game, and they have had a pretty good experience. They say she's 7 years old, she's really fun and playful, and loved the toy they left for her. I think I've only read one bad experience from somebody where they said that she went up, looked at the toy, literally picked it up and threw it at the wall across the room. The toy shattered into tons of pieces, fell on the floor, and then Charlotte proceeded to fall on the ground and smacked her arms on the floor screaming. Apparently her scream was so loud that she had to cover her ears, and for days afterwards she still had the ringing in her ears from Charlotte's scream. So be careful, y'all. To end this game, it says don't let your guard down, but don't be afraid, because that will only scare her, and bad things will happen when ghosts themselves feel fear. So she will sense that you're afraid, and things will just go wrong from there. If you go into this with a really good attitude, you're happy, you're giggling, you're encouraging her, then she will also feel safe and comfortable. So everyone in this situation just has to be positive, and make sure you pick out a really good toy, because like I said, if you don't, watch out. I feel like if I was doing this, I would leave her like a cool Polly Pocket thing, maybe like a Bratz doll. I don't know, something like cool that I liked from my childhood, you know what I mean? Anyways, I don't encourage you guys to play these things. It's just interesting to hear about them. It's supposed to be performed during the winter months in order to obtain protection of your home throughout the coming year. And this game/ritual takes 3 days to perform. And basically, if you do it correctly and all things go well, this snowman is gonna protect your house for the rest of the year, okay? You're gonna be protected. Apparently, the earliest accounts of this game being played date back to the 4th century. Are you kidding me? Apparently, this all started in Ukraine and Russia. You apparently have to do this in the days between Christmas Eve and New Year's Day. But other sources say you can really do this any time of the year as long as it's winter and as long as you have enough snow. This ritual works best for farmers and homeowners who keep animals or pets. But it says you can also do this if you're living in an urban apartment, but it might be harder to ensure that your snowman is not interrupted or disturbed during the 3-day duration of this ritual. Because when you do this, everything has to go right or things will go very wrong. But they do say it's better to do this if you own a house. Now, on the instructions of this game/ritual, it literally says, warning, for your own safety, please read the entire document before attempting this ritual. And like I said, you have to follow the rules exactly or things will go very badly. So let's get into what exactly you will need if you want to do this snowman game thing. You will need snow coverage of at least 3 inches with temperatures near or below freezing over a 3-day period, so it's very, very specific. 2 tree branches or wooden sticks, preferably forked at one end, obviously to look like a snowman's arm. You'll need string or rubber bands, plant materials such as dead leaves or dried grass, vegetable oil such as canola or olive oil, something from an animal such as a piece of fur, a cluster of feathers, etc. without harming any animals, we don't do that. Scissors, a lock of your hair, and a drop of your tears. Not too much to ask, right? Right? Alright, so let's get into the instructions for day 1. Because like I said, this is gonna go over 3 days, so make sure you're ready. At the edge of your property, build a snowman. It must be at least as tall as you are. So it says to be sure to set aside a lot of time and energy to build this snowman because it's gonna be pretty big. It says you can ask your family or friends to help you so you don't have to do this all by yourself. It says ensure that the front of your snowman is facing away from your house. Use the tree branches on either side to form the snowman's arms, but do not give it a face just yet because all the face stuff comes later. At sundown, take the plant material and the vegetable oil and the string or rubber bands and walk out to the snowman that you built. And place all of your plant material into its left hand and put a rubber band around it so it stays there. Then dip your finger into the vegetable oil and press your finger into the left side of its face, and that's creating the left eye. As you do this, it says recite the following. Snowman, snowman, see my land, hollowed soil on which we stand. Snowman, snowman, bless my home, guide me back if I e'er roam. It says after you do this, return to your house and close all the curtains, lock all the doors, and it says make sure you go to bed before midnight. It says if you wake up in the middle of the night and hear any noises like shuffling or walking around or something outside your house, it says don't open your curtains, don't peek, stay in your bed and try to go back to sleep. The snowman is moving about your yard. It says the snowman is moving around your yard, judging if your land and home is worthy. Alright, let's move on to day 2. If you wake in the morning and the snowman has returned to its original position, congratulations. That means your land and your home will be safe for the rest of the year. And if you wake up in the morning and your snowman is nowhere to be seen, it says leave your house and move somewhere far away. So obviously you want your snowman to still be in its original position. So on day 2 at sundown, take the animal material and the string or rubber bands out to the snowman. And then facing the snowman, put the animal fur or feathers or whatever it is into its right hand and secure it with the rubber band. Then press your finger into the right side of its face, and that is its right eye. As you do this, recite the following. Snowman, snowman, see my herd. Pet and cattle, fish and bird. Snowman, snowman, bless my flock. Grow them grass from thorn and rock. Afterwards, just like the previous night, return to your house, close all the curtains, lock all your doors, and go to bed before midnight. If you wake up in the middle of the night and hear movement or shuffling inside your house this time, don't peek, don't leave your bedroom, and try to go back to sleep. It says the snowman is moving around your house, judging if the animals in your care aware are worthy. So the snowman is like looking at your pets like, do I want to protect you this year? I don't know. All right, let's move on to day 3. This is the last day of this game. Once again, it says if you wake up in the morning and the snowman is outside in its original position, that means your pets will be protected for the rest of the year. Congratulations. But it says if you wake up in the morning and there's an inexplainable puddle of water near something your pet owns, like your dog's bed or your bird's cage, etc., it says you probably should look into pet insurance for the rest of the year. Oh my goodness. So on the 3rd day at sundown, take the scissors and the vial of tears out to the snowman. It says dip your finger into your tears and create a mouth of the snowman. Then with the scissors, cut a small piece of your hair and stuff it into the snowman's mouth. As you do this, recite the following. Snowman, snowman, see my breath, drawing ever unto death. Snowman, snowman, bless my heart, judge me whole and hence depart. Once again, afterwards, return to your home, close all your curtains, lock your door, and go to bed before midnight. This is the creepiest part. It says if you wake in the night and feel a cold, dark presence in your room, do not open your eyes. The snowman is standing over you, judging if your soul is worthy. So here's the conclusion of this whole game. It says if you wake up in the morning, congratulations. So meaning if you're still alive, good. And if the snowman has gone back out to its original position outside, it means you are worthy and everything in your life, yourself, your home, everything will be protected for the rest of the year. But there is a warning on these instructions. It says, warning, to date, there are no surviving accounts of what happens to someone who was judged as unworthy. Take from that what you will. And then apparently that night at sundown, it says go over to the snowman and approach it only from behind. Do not walk around to face it and demolish the snowman entirely. So completely destroy it. It says to break the tree branches as many times as possible and scatter the snow around the yard as evenly as you can. Make sure that no trace of this snowman remains. And you're supposed to say absolutely nothing while you're doing this whole thing. Once the snowman is demolished, the game is complete. It says enjoy your year of peace and prosperity. Use it well for when the days grow short and your luck runs thin. You may find yourself looking anxiously for the next deep snowfall. Oh! That's so creepy. Now obviously this is all just a creepypasta game. It's not real. I would never want to encourage anybody to do rituals and stuff like this. The only reason why I'm telling you this one specifically is because it's about a snowman and it's kind of silly. Alright, so the first game is called the Dark Reflection Ritual. Now, while I was looking up this game, on pretty much all of the websites, it said play at your own risk in like capitals. So whenever you see that, it's probably best not to play it. It actually said that this one is the most dangerous of all of the games. So let's go through how many players you need. I'm looking down because I have my laptop. It says all the rules and stuff because obviously I can't really memorize all of this stuff. I did not invent this game. We're just talking about it together today. So it says you need at least one person to play this game, so you could play it on your own if you really wanted to, but it's better to play this in a group. Here are the things you need. You need a mirror. It may be of any type or shape. Its only necessary quality is that it must be a mirror that you are willing to break. So don't use grandma's antique mirror. Use a mirror that you don't mind breaking. Maybe it's an old one you don't really care about, just not like a family heirloom or something, you know? You need a candle and matches or a lighter. So you only need 3 things. This doesn't require a lot. Now here are the instructions. It says begin after sunset, but no less than 6 hours until dawn. Pick up your mirror and look at your reflection in the eye for 3 to 5 seconds, focusing your attention on the negative energy held within the mirror. And then hold the mirror right close to your face and breathe on it so that it fogs up, which I have done before and I probably never will again. Actually, I'll never want to look my reflection in the eye after this. So it says repeat this step for as many players as you have in your group. So you pass the mirror around in a circle, look at yourself, and breathe on the mirror. So basically everybody has to do that. After all of the players have successfully breathed on the mirror, light the candle and hold it to the mirror's surface. So you're basically just putting the candle like right in front of the mirror so that the flame is basically touching it. And once the candle has burned part of the glass, you're gonna blow it out and put it down. And then, like I said at the beginning, you're going to break the mirror. Once it's broken, you're just gonna leave the pieces of the mirror where they are, so do not touch these broken pieces. Just leave them and evacuate the area immediately. So then it talks about what happens next, and it's actually really freaky. After you run away from the mirror, bad luck will proceed to follow you throughout the night. Incidents will likely begin small, like breaking a nail or not being able to find your car keys, but will grow in severity as the evening wears wears on. So because you broke this mirror, you're just gonna have constant bad luck all night, and it starts easy and then just gets worse and worse and worse. Your survival is dependent on your state of alertness. There are no rules to follow or actions to perform that will guarantee your safety. The only piece of advice which may be given is the following: stay vigilant. And should you find yourself in a particularly threatening situation, hold your breath for as long as you can. That might be the only thing that saves you. So if you see a ghost heading in your direction about to destroy you, hold your breath. Just be like, "Excuse me, ghosty." And then finally, if you survive the night unharmed, which says in brackets is very unlikely. Do not play this game, guys, okay? If you survive the night, your bad luck will end and a streak of good fortune will begin. People will be nicer to you, success will come easily, and if you are the gambling type, it is recommended that you buy a lottery ticket. So basically, you have to go through this terrible, terrible bad luck all night after breaking this mirror, and if you get through it, then pretty much the rest of your life you'll have good luck. It also says in bold, there is no way to stop this ritual once it has begun, so do not begin it unless you plan on finishing it. So you can't just break the mirror and then be like, actually, I don't want to play anymore. You literally have no choice. But the reason why this is such a dangerous game is because the bad luck is so bad that it literally could kill you. So that is why you should not play this game. So let's go on to the next sleepover game. It is called Closet to Another World, which already sounds terrifying. I'm already really afraid of my closet. I do not want to go in there. So it says that it is a game that allows you to travel to another plane of existence. But the big question about this game is, what kind of world will you find yourself in if you're successful? Like, where exactly will you go? So it's kind of like the fear of the unknown. It says I can make only one guarantee that wherever it is, it's probably not Narnia. I don't think so either. It's probably some really scary world that you do not want to enter. So you only need one player for this game, which means you would play this all by yourself, which is extra terrifying. And here are the requirements. There's actually a few more than last time. You need a small piece of paper, a writing implement, 2 drinking glasses, a number, and this number must be your age squared. So basically your age multiplied by itself. Do not use any other number. And then lastly, you need a closet, obviously. So here are the instructions. It says to begin at any time of the day, it doesn't really matter, and turn the lights off in the room of the closet that you're in. So the room has to be completely black. Also, if the room has curtains, you have to close those as well. So there is no room for any light to be slipping in anywhere. Then you're gonna write your name on the piece of paper that you have, and you're gonna fill 1 drinking glass with water to 1/7 of its full capacity, and you're gonna leave the other drinking glass empty. So you have 1 with water and 1 without water. Open the closet and place the cardboard box inside. Enter the closet and bring the 2 glasses and the piece of paper with you. Make sure you remember your number. Close the closet door and ensure that no light enters the closet while the door is closed. So if you're like me and you're afraid of the dark, this game is just not gonna work for you. So this is what's gonna happen while you're in the closet. It says, sit inside the cardboard box and place the piece of paper that has your name on it into the glass of water. Close your eyes and begin counting. Count up to the number you previously calculated by squaring your age. Once you're done counting, open your eyes and tip the contents of the glass holding your water and the paper into the empty one. So it's almost like you're transferring your world into a different world. So you're entering a different dimension now. So then it says exit the closet, and this is when you're apparently in a different dimension. It says exit the closet, look around. What do you see? Do you see your world? Do you just think you see your world, which is actually scarier to me? Perhaps you're seeing another world. Perhaps you're seeing someone else's world. Look carefully, and know where you are. And then this is the return trip. It says it is not even certain how to make the return trip, which is freaky because if you do this game, you may always just be trapped in this other dimension, which I don't really think you want. Maybe you do, but that's a little weird to me because don't you want your family and friends? Yeah, it just says it's not known if it's possible to make this return trip. So that is how the instructions end. It's just saying, listen, we can get you to a different dimension, but we can't really get you back. So good luck. And then we have this last game, which is called Blue Baby, Baby Blue. When I hear baby in the title of this game, it already freaks me out because I just think of little children ghosts. I don't like those very much. So you only need one player for this game once again. So you gotta do it on your own. There's no other way. So the requirements are that you need a bathroom, and in this bathroom, it must have the following: a toilet, a mirror, and a door that locks. So here are the instructions. Begin at night and enter the bathroom. So you can't do this during the day, unfortunately. You have to do it at the scariest time of the day. So enter the bathroom, turn off the lights, lock the door, and face the mirror. So this is another one with a mirror, and just mirrors freak me out. So face the mirror, position your arms as though you're cradling a baby. Ugh, this is already really freaky. Gently rock your arms back and forth. So you're pretending you're holding a baby in your arms. While rocking your arms, chant the phrase, blue baby, baby blue, a total of 13 times, which I'm not gonna do right now because I do not need this ritual happening to me right now in my studio, even though I'm not in a bathroom, so probably wouldn't. So while you're chanting this phrase, blue baby, baby blue, what's gonna happen is you're gonna start to feel weight in your arms as if you're actually holding a baby. It says, do not be alarmed by this, stay alert. Stay alert! This weight may begin to grow heavier, please stay alert. So it's actually gonna feel like you're holding a really heavy baby and you're not allowed to freak out about it. This next part is really freaky because it says, you might begin to feel scratching on your arms, but stay alert. Like, no big deal, my arms are starting to be scratched, cool. It says, once you feel this scratching, bring the weight that you're holding over to the toilet and drop it into the toilet. Flush the toilet, unlock the door, and exit the bathroom. If you make it out of the bathroom unharmed, congratulations, you've won. And this is kind of messed up to me because it's like you're holding a ghost baby and then you flush it down the toilet. Like, that's so weird to me. But it has a warning down here in red. It says, do not hold the weight for too long, and do not fail to flush the toilet. Do not fail to exit the bathroom, and exit as quickly as possible. It says, if you do not complete these actions in time, it might result in one of two situations, which I'm kind of scared to read. It says, firstly, a woman may appear in the mirror and demand the return of her baby. Or number two, the scratching on your arms may become unbearable. If either of these situations occur, a losing condition has been achieved. So this sounds really scary. A woman's gonna appear and demand for her baby. So we're literally holding her ghost baby and flushing it down the toilet. Like, what? I feel horrible.